Hey guys, Joe Mendoza here with Commercial Real Estate Investor Club. Today I have some amazing guests with me, Miss Deborah Johnson and Mr. Gavin Ha. Now, both of them are newer to the commercial real estate and investing side, but I'll tell you what, they've got some incredible backgrounds that I want to introduce you to them and share their story a little bit. And we're going to be talking about the club. Why is it important to be in the club? What can you learn from the club, et cetera, et cetera. Welcome, Deborah. Welcome, Gavin. How are you guys?
Oh, doing great. Thanks a lot for the introduction and just letting us be here to join you guys.
Yep,
Perfect,
I second
perfect.
that. Thanks for having us on, Joe.
Awesome, awesome. Well, let's go, ladies first. Deborah, share whatever you want to share. This is going to probably go viral, hopefully. So give the audience something about you that, like I said, you want to share. Anything you want to share about you, your story, anything like that. Go for it.
Sure. I'm actually a scientist by trade, but recently became very interested in investing in real estate, both residential and commercial. So I attended one of Joe's events to learn all about commercial real estate and the funding that's available to invest. So gave me a lot of knowledge. I have zero experience investing in real estate, so it was really important for me to get in the right room with the right people who have this experience and can kind of guide me and show me the way.
Perfect. Thank you, Deborah. How about you, Gavin?
For me, jumping into this was by happenstance. I come from a marketing and sales background, huge experience with video and photography, and I collaborated with a lot of realtors. And through that, I was exposed to an industry that I didn't think that I could tap my hands into. And through an open opportunity, hearing about the club, thanks to you, Joe, it really gave a new insight and perspective that allowed me to take opportunity, especially being in the States. You know, we have a lot of opportunity out there, and to expose a new industry to a guy who thought I'd be stuck in the creative space, this opened up huge doors.
Awesome. Thank you, Gavin. And by the way, ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't seen his video, the video will totally explain his talent. So you
Thank
probably recognize Gavin. He and I connected over a business networking group, and we just hit it off.
yeah.
And I got to share that is part of my goal here with the Commercial Real Estate Investor Club is to build that community because you don't know some of the things that you're really strong with. You may need help on the other part of the business or what have you. And that's why I believe commercial real estate is a team sport. And by all means, Gavin brought some serious talent. Please check out that video. It is on our channel as well. Cool.
We got
Good,
more
good, good.
coming.
There you go. There you go. All right. So what do you guys want to learn today? Any random questions? We had an event in Covina, a very, very successful event. Did you have any questions or totally off topic? Just want to talk about commercial real estate in general. I'm sure the audience will find some value with this video today.
I could jump in here really quick
Go for it.
because since this event was, we're coming off fresh off the press. Last week we had the event, and getting into the to paint a picture for our new people here, the event really encompassed everything that a beginner would want to hear. And I'm not talking about just talking about finances and money, but in terms of the creativity that you can apply yourself if you're coming from a sales background or from a non-sales background, how you can approach this industry. And the questions that came up for me, and I've actually got my shout out to CREIC, got my notebook here that I wrote down some different aspects. And the first aspect was, how do you even start? And I think you guys as a club did a great job. And the word wholesaler really piqued my interest. So I think, Joe, if you could touch upon that, you know, not being an agent, even though I'm working my way towards that, you know, the wholesaler part, I'd like to hear a little bit more on that.
Perfect. Great, great topic. Thank you so much for bringing that up, Gavin. So folks that aren't licensed, that might be a great way to get into real estate and investing. Now, I would caution you, there are some states that you might want to check out that you have to be licensed. And I forget which ones they are, but a wholesaler basically is you're the investor or you find a deal and you basically give it to a real estate investor for a nice profit. And typically on residential real estate, I've seen anywhere from $5,000 to $10,000. And that's not bad, right? Considering some people don't even make that in a month. All you're doing is investing maybe 2 to 4 hours per week, searching the internet, searching Facebook groups, just scouring through the internet or through your network of people, finding what they call an off-market deal. Now, funny you mentioned because I talked to my nephew who I've been teaching here and there about real estate, and he was finding deals, but be careful of what they call the daisy chain. The daisy chain is like one random person will wholesale to another person, to another person, to another person, and really no one's direct to the seller. And
Right.
so I would be really, really careful when you're going on the internet and talking to different people. I would make sure you're direct to seller because that would really mitigate any potential risk on a lawsuit, contracts, money's being lost. There's fraud out there, and so be really, really careful if you're going to play that wholesaler space. Like I said, there's not really a license needed in most states. But however, there are a couple states out there, I believe that's why they stopped it, is because there was a lot of fraud going on. So I would subscribe to like something like CREIC or PropStream or Property Radar or get some kind of access to MLS. You want to find what we call these properties they don't want to sell, they need to sell. When they need to sell, they're going through a divorce. Maybe they're behind on payments. Maybe they got this property via probate, but they're out in Ohio and the property's here in California. They don't want to manage it. So if you get direct to the seller or the person's in charge, there's some wholesale contracts out there that again be careful where you're getting these contracts and paperwork from because you have to tie up the deal. Okay, whether it's commercial real estate or residential, there are paperwork, and this is part of why we have this club as well, because we are going to get really great professionals in here, even attorneys and commercial brokers and what have you, to have that resources available for you as a member. So you will get this wholesale contract. You go direct to the seller and you agree on a price. And within that contract, you have the right to potentially assign the contract to an investor for a fee. And so, like, usually a wholesale contract is either 1 page or 2 page. It could be as much as 5 to 10 pages. So it really depends on, where you get this paperwork from. And in commercial real estate, what's really attractive, Gavin, is it's bigger numbers. So when you're looking at a wholesale fee, I mean, it could be 100,000. So that's where it gets really, really exciting because one deal could totally change somebody's whole entire lifestyle.
That is awesome. Thank you for that breakdown. I got plenty of questions and more comments coming your way, Joe.
Perfect, perfect. And Gavin, this won't be the first. So I plan to have
Yeah.
you and Deborah on here. And like I said, I only want to go about 20, 30 minutes because I know that's pretty effective drive time for a lot of people,
Yeah.
especially if they're enjoying the content. I mean, from home to work, usually is about 20, 30 minutes. We give them enough golden nuggets. All right, now take massive action.
I want to also interject really quick that these smiles that are coming from me and Deborah are super genuine. No one's holding a gun to our head. It's genuine excitement. And I kid you not, being at the club, the very first thing we tapped on was mindset. And despite everything that's going on out there, we are diving into something that's still exciting. And there's plenty of room to grow and learn. It's amazing. So, Joe, really, really stoked.
Appreciate it, Gavin. I'm a big believer. One of my mentors is Tony Robbins. And the secret to living is giving. And so I'm just genuinely giving and giving. And sometimes our meetings are small, but I'm really trying to give. And I know the world, God, whatever you believe in, will reciprocate, right? If you
Right.
throw bad stuff out there, well, guess what? You get that tenfold.
Well, speaking of giving, Joe, can you give us some knowledge on what a syndicate is when it comes to real estate and how we might be able to find one?
Very, very good question, Deborah. So there's a few things to unpack there. How to find one, I would make sure within your circle of friends, right?
Okay.
You know, you like, you trust. Okay. So usually that's a great way to start. Now, however, if you find a syndicate from a friend of a friend and you don't vet this person out, well, be mindful. You got to be careful because some of these syndicators that are putting these deals together, they went to a training or a boot camp or whatever. They don't have a lot of the knowledge to put these properly together. And next thing you know, the project is underfunded, under budgeted, and next thing you know, your whatever amount, and typically on syndicates, it's 25,000, 50,000, 100,000 buy-in. Your money's kissed goodbye. Okay, so I would be careful, like where are you hearing about these syndications and what is a syndicate? It's basically you're a busy professional, Deborah. Same with you, Gavin. However, you want to get into real estate. You don't have a lot of the knowledge yet. You want to get your feet wet. I would say it's a great way to start because if you do get into a great syndication where you put in 25,000, 50,000, 100,000, or whatever the amount is, it's a great way to learn. And now parts of the syndication typically is there's a GP, a general partner who's in charge of the project, raising the capital, being in charge of the vendors, the contractors, the plumber, trying to rehab the property to bring it into stability or better performing. And you're in there, you're tying up your money typically anywhere from 3, 5, 10 years. So be aware of that as well, is you're going to put your 25,000 or 100,000, set it, forget it, and keep in mind you could lose it all. Okay, because nothing ever is guaranteed in real estate, especially syndications investings. And if somebody does say something like that, be careful, run the other direction. Okay. And I would also make sure that there is some kind of securities exchange attorney involved because this is raising capital. And some of these folks, man, I'm looking on Facebook and all these other forums, and they're just asking for money randomly. A lot of those folks could get in major, major trouble because they are not properly doing it. So, syndication, like I said, is a great way to go. When you collectively raise, a few million or whatever, some people don't really have that kind of money. So they'll go to Deborah, they'll go to Gavin, they'll go to me, 50,000, 100,000, 200,000. All of a sudden, they've got this raise of like 3 million. Now they could go ahead and purchase this property. So a wholesaler might tie up the property, right? But if they think it's juicy enough, we want to tie it up in an actual contract, a purchase agreement, an RPA, not a I'm sorry, not RPA, that's residential, but an actual purchase agreement, right? And then do their due diligence, which I recommend at least 90 days, right? 90 days to check out the property, do a phase one, a phase two, what we call EIR, environmental impact report. Okay, so you're gonna make sure that this property is really, really good, no problems. It's not on like protected land or anything like that. Okay, and then during that time too, you're raising capital, finding out who could bring this deal to the finish line. You might find a few more GPs that are very, very strong, but you're going to start as a limited partner, an LP, okay? And put in your money, set it, forget it. You're part of the syndication, but guess what? The good news, you could also put that on your resume that I participated in this 100 unit. And a lot of people
Mhm.
will ask, are you a general partner or limited partner? Unless they're really, really seasoned and experienced. because like me, I'm also a commercial broker. I want to vet people out as much as possible because I don't want to waste my time or get burned or waste money. Make sense?
Yeah, makes perfect sense. And I just want to emphasize what Joe said. Invest with somebody that you trust. If you go search syndicate on the internet, there's all of these groups that come up and they have excellent marketing. They can be very deceiving. So just make sure you know exactly what you're getting into before you go into a syndicate. So,
Thank you so much for sharing that, Deborah, because yeah, you could get burned.
yeah.
And if you simply type in on the internet recently, there was some people that got burned really, really bad. So there was a syndicator out in Texas. I mean, he had to give back keys on over 4,000 units or something like that, because
Wow.
unfortunately, they did their numbers at the prevailing rates at the time. The prevailing rates at the time was 3%, 4%. They didn't anticipate rates going up. They didn't have enough reserve capital. Okay, so they miscalculated. The rates went up, the payments went up, they started burning through the reserves, and now nobody wants to give more money because it's a sinking ship. And so what eventually happened, unfortunately, those people lost hundreds of thousands and maybe millions. The syndicator went belly up bankrupt and done. Here in San Diego, I mean, you can see right in the background right now, there's this shopping center called Horton Plaza. It went through its ups and downs, and one group went in there recently that said, "Hey, we're gonna reposition this into a mixed-use kind of property, or we're gonna have residential, some retail, some office space, what have you." Unfortunately, they're in trouble as well
Yeah.
right now as we speak.
And I think
Dang.
that's the added value of this club is that you go into a room with people that you trust. This is not a fly by night operation. They're going to be there again next week. They answer your phone calls and your emails. They can put you in touch with the right people. So I feel like this club is a really great start for people who have no idea, like myself.
Thank you so much, Deborah. I appreciate that feedback. Yeah, that's the idea, guys. So, we want to keep bringing more value. And I always say, I mean, one of my slides usually when I present, it's not about me, it's about we, right? And so this is exactly why I had Gavin today and Deborah. Again, they're very, very seasoned professionals. Deborah has a PhD. Gavin's such a whiz on the camera and is creative genius. Like I said, watch that video. It's not here, but it's on our channel. You're gonna see it everywhere. We currently have two websites, CREIC where we're hosting our events, and then commercialrealestateinvestorclub.com. Now we're still kind of in, the beginning stages where it's going to get better and better and better as more people participate, as more we get more talent in the room. And yeah, that's exactly why we're doing all this.
I wanted to also just comment, and I come from a sales background. Now I wanted to talk to some of the salespeople too, because what I realized was when you're selling marketing, you're selling something from scratch, right? But with real estate, especially commercial real estate, you have physical, tangible things I could sell, and when I find buyers and and investors, I have something that I can present, and it's really cool, and it makes dollars and cents right away. Joe, you have any comment on that for um, understanding
Oh,
from the sales experience part?
yeah, 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 yeah. So I'm so glad you brought that up because, I have so much experience and knowledge that, I mean, we'll probably be here for 12 hours if we, we set that time because I could just share so
Yeah,
much. And,
yeah.
so regarding being a salesperson in real estate, you don't have an actual product that you're gonna have an inventory. That's why as a broker, it's one of the best businesses out there. It is
Mm,
by far one of the best businesses and super high profit margin. So for anybody considering getting into real estate, I highly recommend it because if you look at any other sales out there, this is by far one of the best. I've had my broker license almost 30 years. Should you get a bright license or not? I absolutely recommend you should because you have that higher knowledge. You're more trustworthy because they don't give licenses to everybody. You pass a test, they'll vet you out, you'll do the fingerprinting. So I highly recommend that. Now, however, I also want all the real estate agents, commercial brokers out there, invest in your own product because like there's some realtors out there that I would encourage them to make sure that they build wealth for themselves. Because I was once told you could get rich being a realtor, but you're going to get wealthy being an investor. And I agree. I mean, because you have an asset, a very tangible asset that you could touch, you could see, what have you. A stock, it could go up and down, and like Enron, it's gone, right? There's some of these companies out there that folded. Now, am I 100% in real estate? No, I believe in diversification. And so how I kind of approach the investing side is I like a 70-30 blend or an 80-20 blend. 70% of my assets will be real estate or 80%. I do believe in index funds. I do believe here, my gambling is stocks sometimes, so I'll play the stock market here and there. And so 70-30 or 80-20 blend, diversify your portfolio. And I'll tell you what, if you're barely getting into real estate, Deborah, you mentioned syndication. Well, even lower than that, there's a smaller buy-in, guys, where there's this thing called crowdfunding. And there's certain companies out there. I'll just name drop a little bit. You guys could check them out. I'm not endorsing any of them out there, what have you, but check them out on your own. There's a company called Fundrise. And with Fundrise, it's what we call a crowd fund. You could get in, and the younger crowd, I would highly, highly recommend this. If you really want to get into real estate, start with a crowd fund. I mean, there's crowd funds you could get in for $50 or $100 and make that automatic investment for per monthly. And all of a sudden, you're getting information about real estate. You're getting the prospectuses back. You're getting reports. You're starting to learn. But it's a great, great way to get in very, very skinny. But you start to learn and earn in real estate.
Wow, thanks, man.
And one thing I wanted to, yeah, Gavin, I just wanted to add to your tangible asset. One thing I really love about real estate, not only are they tangible, but real estate's value comes when that asset is unique, right? And so when you have an inventory of real estate, every property is different, and that's really its selling value. So it's just a fun field to play in. We have all these unique tangible assets.
No, I wanted to also, that was great, Deborah. I also wanted to add that it was really cool the way Joe was able to put us at a position to start. Like that was a great idea. Like you can just start like that. It's not something that's far off, and it's the most important thing, which is to start.
Exactly correct. Because you could get all this knowledge that we're bringing in the club, but if you're not taking any action, this is just wasted time. So,
Yep.
so I
Yep.
encourage whoever's listening on YouTube or Facebook or whatever, take this knowledge. First you learn and then you earn. But simultaneously, think about the risk involved. What's the risk on $50 on a crowd fund? Or even, 25,000. For some people, that might be a lot. But you think about the cost of education to learn, that's what you should be focused on the most. Because there's a lot of times where I deal with the clients as a broker or whatever, and I just want to learn. I'm obsessed with learning, and I'll do something within the real estate space, whether it's learning about storage units or mobile home parks or retail or whatever, and I just want to learn. But part of my learning, I'm going to get in kind of skinny, maybe invest a little bit, or get in as a broker and learn, represent a client and learn. So again, I wanted to emphasize the learning because man, when you start taking this knowledge and doing something with it, the power is infinite.
Thanks a lot, Joe. Great stuff.
All right, cool. Maybe we have room for one more and we can wrap it up.
Pass the ball to you, Deborah. What do we got?
Actually, I think Joe answered my ultimate question was how much do I need to get in, right? I think finding that cash that we can let go of and invest in something else is probably the biggest hurdle for a lot of people to get started. So I think the crowdsourcing or the syndicates are a really good way to get your feet wet and also to start talking the language. Like Joe said, once you invest, you're going to start getting information about your investment. You're going to start having more conversations. And that's really the way to go to learn that language, and to get in at something that's a little bit, like Joe said, skinnier, right? As opposed to maybe $100,000 investment. I think there are many of us that could spare $50 to get in on a crowdsourcing and see what it's like and start to learn the pathway.
Absolutely. Well, Deborah, Gavin, it's been a pleasure. Thanks so much for joining me this
Likewise.
morning. Hope to see you guys again soon. I mean, bring it. I mean, we went totally unscripted, totally unedited, and this was just perfect. This is exactly what I was envisioning for our audience. You guys were so real, so genuine, so authentic. I appreciate both of you for sure. So please come back to the show anytime you want. And yeah, bring any questions you want, guys.
Thank you. We'll be ready.
Yeah,
All right.
thank you too, Joe. It's always good to, like you said, give away this knowledge. We really appreciate it.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Thank you so much. Have a great day. Keep watching, subscribe,
Bye.
guys, and check out a channel for sure.
Hit that bell.